Hey y'all, welcome back to For the Fans Entertainment, where tonight we are going to break down the latest episode of Survivor 41, where we saw the Mafia Pastor take out her next target, a brand new advantage get unleashed into the game. And tonight we are joined by a super special guest, Edge of Extinction's Rick Devens. So Rick, thank you so much for joining us. We are so excited to have you. And we're also joined by Robbie and Stan, not as excited to have y'all. Anyways, how's everyone doing?
It's good to be here. I'm excited. Always ready to talk Survivor, as Stan knows.
Yes, thank you, Devens, for joining on. I think absolute pleasure. Devens and I knew each other. We played a online game together, a little mini, and me and Devens were the final two. And Robbie, I've never broken a final two. I had one with you too, but it's always a pleasure.
Fair.
I will say, Robbie, I didn't get anywhere close to that final two with Stan. I was way cut early. It wasn't because of Stan.
We have been pretty far together.
I was his David Wright, I think.
There you go.
I almost won that game too. Anyway, and then Kiley, thanks for having me as usual. It's always a pleasure.
No, I'm happy to be here. I enjoyed the last episode, and once again, I mean, we rolled into it with not much of an intro, just right into the action with the UA tribe doing their thing.
Yeah. Yep. So we've completely gotten rid of the introduction. We don't need any of that anymore. No previously ons. So just straight into the action. And we do get our UA 3. Sound as good as the less U3. But our UA 3 on the beach. And hey, can you believe it? This is day 10. Who would have thought? The three of us.
That stinks. That stinks. Like when you're a tribe of three, like anything can happen. Like I hate to be in a tribe of three. Like
And you know what? I actually think that they're on Lesu Beach. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same beach. And that was a miserable beach. That was like, not because the beach was bad, although the beach wasn't great. Like, there's definitely better places. But that was a rough time at the day. And I know on our season, like, I thought day 10, 11 was the hardest part of the game. Because you've been out there a while, like you're worn down. We'd had bad weather, which it doesn't look like they'd had yet. And there's so much game ahead of you. You're like, oh my gosh. But these guys are halfway done. So I think the mindset's got to be a lot different. Like they're so much closer to a merge. I mean, we weren't looking at merge for another 10 days. The game's going to be over in just a little more than that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. And it's crazy to see. That's awesome. I love the fact that we got the comments rolling in already.
Hey, Dawn.
My
favorite comment ever.
We see Jeannie come in here and give a confessional right off the bat of this episode saying how comfortable she feels now that she's earned the trust and that, Ricard and Shan have graced her with the team spirit. You know what I mean? They voted with her and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, you're crazy. You're next if you guys go. Like, how do you not feel on the bottom? You've literally voted for each of them already. They've lied to you with every other vote. And the first reaction Jeannie has is, hey, guys, I'm just going to openly let you know I'm going to go look for an idol, all right?
Y'all stay here. I'm going to go search the well.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm going to find it, and I'm going to run back and tell y'all. Like, I have facepalm emojis in my notes. Like, what are you doing? And
let me start before we hand the floor to Devens. Jeannie was like my winner pick at the start of the season.
Well, that was dumb.
I loved her from the intro videos. And then when she pulled this move of running, telling them to look for the idol, finding the dang advantage, and then running back to tell the two people that kept her out of the loop in the last 2 votes that she had the advantage. I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, that's like the classic Survivor mistake. But I mean, that's the edit that it's been shown to us. Like, I suspect that Jeannie was a lot closer to them from like personally. But what's your take on this, Devens? Like, why did you do it?
I think clearly Shan is so good at making people feel close to her. I mean, every single person on that tribe has felt like she was their number one. Like her social game is unbelievable. And when she said she was 34, I was really shocked. I was like, wow, I thought she was much younger. But I think that explains a lot. I was actually 34 on my season when I played. And I think that's a real sweet spot for being able to relate to the young folks without being like you're their parent or you're talking down to them, and being able to also relate to the older folks as peers. And she's in that sweet spot, and she's playing it so well. That being said, Jeannie, come on. You should know better. It's like, Jeannie, do you not remember the huge tantrum you threw like 2 tribals ago because they lied to your face and got rid of Brad? Like, you threw a huge tantrum about it. Do you remember?
I'm never feeding you again.
Right.
Y'all are on your own until Nathan Gian shows us how to do it. You don't need me anyways.
Yeah. And now she's out there making fire and doing fish. She should have stuck to her guns.
Like, if it was somebody who was more strategic, I could have seen that being a move, because up to this point, those beware advantages, like for the idol specifically, all they've meant is once you have it, you can't vote.
Yeah.
And if she was trying to trick somebody, like, hey, Shan, why don't you open it? And there's only 3 of us left, and now you can't vote. Like, I would have loved to have seen a confessional that maybe said, hey, I don't want to lose my vote, but I want to know where it is. So maybe I'll pretend I'm being loyal to them, but really I'm just trying to get them to lose their vote. Right. I don't see that coming from Jeannie just based on what we've seen in the edit. But
I mean, I talked about it in our last show that, like, listening to her exit press, she was like drinking the Shan Kool-Aid, and she was just like, I just did not think that they lacked that much integrity that they would go back and get this. And I was like, damn, girl. But she even says that she knew what Shan had done to JD. And I'm like, if you know that, like, how do you not think that she's going to go back and get this idol? And then you're just going to let her say it too? Like, oh my gosh. Her
heart is too pure for this game, you know? Like, I think
you gotta have some evil.
Bless her heart, as what they say here in the South, you know? Like, I mean, I think if she is strategic, and before the season, I thought she'd be strategic. She has the potential to be a Suri type phenotype if she was strategic at all, because she has the mom vibe.
If she was a hell of a lot better player, she could have been.
Kind of the same thing. She was on the bottom in Panama, right? She was kind of like in the middle in Micronesia with the Cute People Alliance and like the Outsiders, and she was voted out early in Heroes, Villains, and in Game Changer she was just in the
Stan, I hate to interrupt, but she is like Suri in the sense that she played Survivor.
Totally the same. And
they could not be further apart in terms of playing the game. They're nothing alike.
Absolutely. I'm not comparing them at all, because she did not play Survivor, actually. She did not play Survivor.
Yeah, but you got to give Jeannie credit.
You
got to give her some credit for her challenge acumen, at least. I mean, you've got
Survivor.
But what I'm saying is there's 2 other people in this game right now of a similar demographic, in Tiffany and Heather, right? Who have been pinpointed in challenges for not being able to compete. And yet Jeannie has never really been hammered with it's all been social games. She's too much of a meat and potatoes person, where it's here's what it is, here's what I'm going to do, no strategy.
Well, I think you could make the argument that Shan made a big mistake, and that Jeannie actually played a game where she should have been taken over Ricard. Like, if you're Shan, do you want the person who's going to tell you every single thing and be totally loyal to you and definitely not going to stab you in the back? Or do you want Ricard, who could very likely turn on you at the person? So I think Jeannie kind of played it the right way, and Shan played it a different way.
Yes.
But I think Jeannie was smart in that, like, she set a trap for Ricard. Like, as soon as Ricard starts talking smack, I'm going to go to Shan, and Shan's going to know I'm telling the truth because I'm honest about it. It's just she underestimated how close Shan and Ricard were, obviously. Which is good gameplay by them. Like, if they've lived that close and they kept it that secret, like, that's really pretty good. Well, I guess if she's all fishing for hours at a time, maybe it's not that impressive. But no one in my season ever left to go fish unless we were on edge of extinction. We were way too scared to leave people to do exactly the type of thing that Ricard and Shan did.
Frank's hot take for the day: Shan wants Ricard because he is a genius.
Yeah. So let's talk about this decision.
Why you want him and why you don't.
Why
We're
you don't?
jumping-
So my thing is, like, I think that in this case, I would take out Ricard, who is dotting me. I would, with the extra vote. Like, yeah, go.
I think, yes, Stan, I think you nailed it. I think Ricard, because Ricard is as intelligent as he is when it comes to reading where the chess pieces are on the board. I think even Ricard knows at this vote, this is the right vote to get rid of him. You're going down to 12. You could easily have a swap coming up, going from 3 down to 2 6s or whatever. I think even Ricard knows that he's the right vote. So that's why there's no way in hell he's giving that extra vote back.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? He's like, this is the only leverage I have to and he even says that to her. He's like, you wouldn't need me. There's literally no reason to keep me if I give you this back. And I think he does that half being honest and half trying to show weakness because he's played so strong up to this point. It's almost like, I need you, Shan. Like, we're a team. I need you. But really, it's like, you're an idiot if you don't vote me out right now because I know all the things about you. You know what I mean? I know all the powers you have, Shan.
Right.
But at the
Okay,
same,
so we just talked about this for like half of the other show. So we're gonna do this again. I think, Devens, your opinion here has a lot more weight than mine. But in my opinion, I want somebody that I'm going to be able to strategically bounce ideas off of, as opposed to the yes person. Like, I don't want the person that is just going to, whatever you want to do, but isn't making the strategic moves alongside with me, that just doesn't have that capability. And so I'm voting Jeannie off.
No, I was making the case for Jeannie and for Shan doing that for that reason of having the S person, but I actually agree. I'm going with Ricard. I'm keeping him because it's us against the world at this point.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I need someone who can be a baller, someone who's not emotional like Jeannie, someone who's not going to nix my plans because it lacks integrity, like when we're trying to do something here. So I would ride with Ricard 100%, but I would never have the nerve to ask for that vote back. I thought that was a huge misstep on Shan's part. I thought that was outrageous.
Let him keep it.
When he was totally involved in what happened with JD, it's like, are you trying to make me look like an idiot? Even if I give you the vote and you keep me, I look like an idiot. Like, that was insane.
You're right.
I mean, in terms of that, like, I like the decision for both of them. Like, I love that Shan asks Ricard for the vote, and I love that Ricard does not give it to her. Like, and so, I mean, we've decided that we're going to like branch off and have another Survivor show every week where we have a debate, because we had in our group discussion last night such a debate over, Shan's decision here, and, like, hey, should she kept Ricard? Should she have kept Jeannie? And all kinds of things. But I mean, just.
Well, yeah, you know what, Kylie? And I think I want to clarify a little bit of the nuance of this situation, okay? I don't think it was an error for Shan to ask for it. I think it was an error for her to keep asking for it and to keep pushing. I think going up to Ricard and being like, hey, we didn't need it. I got the idol now. So if you just want to hand me back that thing, we're back to whatever. We'll keep rolling forward. Like, whatever. And if he's like, I'd really rather hold on to it until tomorrow. Now you have that. You already got the information. You don't like the information. You don't like the answer, but now you have it. And you can internalize that, roll with the conversation. But yeah, no worries. I'll get it from you tomorrow, whatever. And go back and make the rest of your plans with that new information. But by hammering him on it, now all you're doing is stoking any paranoia that he might have that he can't trust you. You know what I mean? And I feel like
100%.
I think that's the error. I don't think asking, it's the push.
I love the dynamicness of Shan, in that I think she is a very, very strong player. Is she going to be one of the greats? TBD. Yeah. But I love that she is a very real person. Like, we've gotten 2 huge, real,
Stan,
raw
are you shaking
moments.
your head at she's going to be one of the greats pre-merge?
you
serious?
I hope she is. But
like, we don't know how good anyone on Blue is because they've never been to Tribal, and you're crowning her as one of the greats.
You have spun that pre-merge so much.
This is the guy who made Judy's 3 a second ago.
But she's not this she's not perfect. Like, she's made some questionable decisions. She's entertaining. Like, she brings
She's
the
great.
whole package
Yeah,
to me.
she's so
She's
fun.
entertaining. She's smart. She's strategic.
She's
She
Canadian.
gets the confessionals. She's got some damn good music dropping.
She's
like,
Canadian?
Shan?
she's
Yeah.
Canadian, but she moved to America. So, I mean,
Yes,
we're
screw
gonna
that.
take it.
Listen,
Erica lives in Canada, right?
No, I'm claiming I am claiming Shan, okay? As the I believe I'm the only Canadian on the panel here,
Me, I'm
okay?
Canadian.
I am
I don't
claiming
know.
Shan.
Until we hear her say A, I don't think you can claim her.
Yeah.
Robbie,
Okay,
look.
I'll listen. Yeah, I don't have it. Listen, I don't have it on me, okay? I mean,
Then are
holds
you
up the
even
Canadian
Canadian?
passport like James Bond? Like he's
Yeah,
at any
yeah.
Oh,
moment
I'm
he can
traveling
have
on
it.
Saturday. I have to get my ducks in order.
There you go.
There you go. Your
All
Canadian
right,
geese in
so
order.
we've kind of like gone off the rails here.
That's how I do business.
Let's
Kylie.
let's reel it back in. Okay, so we do see Jeannie and Ricard with their little deviousness and the idol. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. Obviously, when we get to the challenge, y'all excuse my dog. He's like full on turning circles. He weighs like 150 pounds and he's got like this much room. Okay, so the Luvu Beach. Why is Sydney so polarizing and why do I love her?
Sydney, good luck loving Sydney as much as Sydney loves Sydney.
No self-awareness.
She is a great character. I mean, I adore her as a character, but I just am like, you guys want to throw a challenge to get rid of Erica? Because Erica wants to get rid of Sydney? Like, why do these dudes love Sydney so much?
They're working with her.
Because
I
she's
guess
savvy
so,
as
but
hell,
Erica's working
super
with
good
them.
looking,
I don't think
and the
so.
ultimate threat.
Yeah.
This is where people
I'm not saying. Yeah.
they're being spoiled, right? Because they haven't had they don't have the fear, right? They're being spoiled. And all they do is try to make a show out of nothing when they should just be eating as much food as they can, getting as much sleep as they can, trying to maximize the amount of energy they have for the merge. And you know what? You got Nasir goes to Sydney and says who his target is. And instead of using that information later when she needs it, she runs and tells everybody. You've got Erica go to Deshaun and say who her target is. And instead of internalizing that and using it when he needs it, he goes and tells people. Like, they're just looking for shit to do because they're bored and they're becoming complacent. That information in any other tribe right now would be worth $1 million to some of these players to know who the targets are, who's going after who. And why would you just give that away to cause drama when you could literally be sleeping and there's no problem with it? Like, go out fishing for shits and giggles right now. Like, you're the Blue Luvu tribe, live it up. But they just can't handle it. They can't handle how good they have it.
I mean, I think it's like they're itching to play Survivor. It's day 10 and none of them are going home. Like, I would have, I mean, they're itching to play. Like, Erica started talking to Deshaun last episode about when she didn't have to strategize. She was playing the bond underling card, which she was not really on anyone's radar. And suddenly there's 2 straight episodes that her name's being brought up unnecessarily. So I think she's a little overplaying when she doesn't have to. But yeah, I see it. You get antsy after 10 days.
10 days, dude. Try 2 years plus 14 days in quarantine. Then you finally get out there. You've been playing Survivor for 10 days and you don't see Jeff Probst except at the challenges. You're like, did they forget about us over here? I'm sure you've had enough time to look at each other and go, wow, we're not getting airtime before the merge at all. Like, we know how this goes, even though, I know Erica's struggling on social media now looking for her airtime every week. It's like, I bet you weren't jealous when the other tribes were going to tribal. But yeah, in our season, it happened with Kama. Like, they could not wait to get rid of those returning players, and they had it all mapped out ahead of time. And then, they get to tribal and they all fall apart because they've been best friends for half the game and can't believe that they've been lying to each other. So it'll be interesting to see how Blue does when they do finally have to go to tribal.
Yeah, so we see Deshaun and Danny having this conversation again about like, hey, should we throw the challenge? We're worried that the women are going to have the numbers. And Nasir, the one-man wrecking crew, walks up to them at the well, and they decide to, like clue him in on this. And I'm like, okay, this is a misstep. If you want to throw the challenge, you cannot include Nasir because this goes back to that word integrity. I think Nasir has way too much of it, and he is not going to throw a challenge. And I don't know what about him. They thought we should tell him that we want to throw a challenge, because I would be like, don't tell him. Mm-mm.
I mean, there's a small added benefit that now Nasir knows that Danny and Deshaun aren't coming after him, right?
Sure.
Like, I get it. Maybe he'll go share it and it'll cause mayhem or whatever. But the last time that they all spoke, it was Nasir versus, was it Danny, right? He was like, I want Danny out. And first episode, it's like, they're trying to find an idol. Let's get them both out. And now they're kind of like, come on in. It's like, that all could have been fake just to get Nasir to feel comfortable. I don't know. It seemed real to me.
Well, after last episode, I think we learned that if he's not in on it, you can't throw it, because he will win it by himself.
That's a machine.
They were like, we tried to throw it without him. We can't. So we need him in on this. And I mean, not only integrity, but we didn't know it at the time, but we find out later, like, he's probably already lost his vote at this point. So he definitely doesn't want to throw a challenge. Like, they don't even have his vote to try to get what they want done.
I never pieced that together at all when I watched it.
That's not mine. I saw that on Twitter. I don't know who it was, but I did not think of that either.
That's genius.
That's a good point, though.
That's a good point.
Can I just say, I don't know how many other players that line would have worked better for than Nasir standing there and throwing it.
It was so great. It was so great. We're going to get to that. We're going to get there.
I feel like a goat.
Still.
I love Nasir.
Anything else to say about Luvu?
I think the whole, as Erica, come on, why is everyone throwing Erica's name again? Like, why is this even being brought up? And I just want to point out my boy Nasir. He's one of my biggest. I've been watching for 41 seasons now, I guess. And Nasir is the first foreign, Asian born Survivor player. I look up to him. I was born in the Philippines, as y'all know. I spent 15 years there, and Nasir is the super fan that finally got to play Survivor. But again, bless his heart moment part 2, Nasir doesn't understand the social, how it's different in Sri Lanka, the social norms and how people it's very different. Here in America, I'll throw a challenge, but back in second, no, this is Survivor, an experience a lifetime. I'm not throwing, I love how Nasir is integrated into the system, because it's very different from where he came from. He's we're rice and fish, we're okay. Rice and coconut, when he said in episode 1, and that's true coming from a third world, a developing country. Anyway.
Yeah, I think you nailed something there, Stan, too, because he actually says to them, and it wasn't even about the loyalty or any of that. You know what he said? Not having flint, not having fire it would be a critical mistake. And they're living in the world where they've never not had that stuff. Right? On this island, right?
Well, that was interesting too, because I think we used our flint to start our fire and we never needed it again. You keep that thing going. When you go to tribal, you put a tree on your fire and you come back and it's embers and you blow it and it comes back. But he's so quick with the flint, he might just do it a different way.
That's amazing. This guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, love to see.
All right, so let's move to Yasa. And this is my girl Tiffany's shining moment. Once again, I am here for the entertaining people. And I'm sorry, I'm still going to just hold on to it. I have this small little thing in me that sees a Tiffany win. Okay, I just can't help it.
Oh gosh, Kiley, put me on board. I totally see it.
Yeah, me and Stan have talked about it. She had this confessional before the game starts about being a Previvor, and we've already gotten to see kind of this arc of her where she struggled so much on the balance beam. Now she's kind of killing it. She's entertainment gold. So let's talk about her conversation with Xander, and Xander saying, hey, I'm going to tell you about my idol, and her having this office moment of looking at the camera and being bullshit. We get the bleeps and everything, y'all. This is amazing. I love her.
Xander was adorable during that conversation. He never had a chance. I mean, she played him like a fiddle. It was masterful the way that she did that. And he's not necessarily the toughest nut to crack, I don't think. She was the only one that did it. He hadn't told straight up everything anyway. But the way she caught him in every lie. and didn't hold him over the fire, just knew and let him know that she knew. Like it was
Yeah.
delightful.
Xander's also 20 years old.
Oh yeah.
He's 20.
100%.
Like, he's so I don't know if I told you, but he's Jack Atkins's little in his fraternity. So they are both, he introduced them to Survivor, Devens. Like they just and then Xander applied to Survivor, got on, but he's a year younger than Jack, and Jack's 21 because I know him, and I'm like, dude. And then he is a little gullible, and Tiffany, Xander had a little bit of a slip up there. Like I think
it's definitely a mother son type of thing. Like honestly, like when I was a kid, I had a sleepover and I broke a lamp, like a glass lamp, and my parents came down the stairs. My mother came down the stairs, and she just looked at me. And I was trying to spin a yarn on how this thing fell over, and didn't say a word. Yeah. That's how it happened.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Well, okay. Here's what happened. I'm sorry. Okay, I should have just told you we were doing this, and then you can't help it, right? You just end up telling the truth, apologizing for kind of fibbing a little bit. And Xander even admitted it. He's like, she deals with children all day. And I think she'll forgive me for lying. And I hope that she's just going to be a nurturing type and forgive me.
Yeah.
And everything will be okay.
I'm not mad at you, Xander, for not telling me. I'm just disappointed.
Meanwhile, Tiffany's like, screw this guy. He lied to me. And now I know.
Yeah.
And it's like, but yeah.
But
Devens
I think
very
what was
politely.
even more interesting, I think what's more interesting was Lyanna and Tiffany in the fire actually talking about how they think that the Evie Xander relationship is getting really close.
So that is interesting. Where Evie is like out here trying to like pump Xander for this information and kind of like pump him up a little bit, but she's doing it for the three, and they're back at camp like, ooh, do we trust her? I don't know. And I see a lot of Mama C vibes in Tiffany. Like that is who she reminds me of. Like this older woman. She does have a little bit of strategy to her. We do see her go through Xander's bag. Well, Lyanna goes through Xander's bag, but yeah, I like this.
So I'm gonna bring her up again, and hopefully Devens won't flame me this time. But Tiffany can potentially have like Suri vibes.
Why does she have to have Suri vibes? Can't we just appreciate Tiffany for being Tiffany?
I guess. Yeah, you're right. I'll appreciate. I love Tiffany. Like when Kiley and I disagree on a lot of things, but what we do agree with is Tiffany's our dark horse to win. I think I think the edit on the first episode when she said that I was a pre-survivor for breast cancer, now I'm going to be the survivor, and everyone brushed off on that. But as someone who I know what happens in like breast cancer. You have bilateral mastectomies, and then she found out that her parents were actually, her mom actually had the gene, so she preemptively did that, which is to save her from potentially having breast cancer. And talking about that, I think everyone brushed through that. But in seeing that could potentially be foreshadowing for her game. And I'm glad. I thought she was going to be first out in Yasa, which is going to be heartbreaking. But like now, I'm all aboard the Tiffany train. I love Tiffany.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tiffany's set up in a really good spot to win. Because if she's closer to Lyanna than Evie is, that's a really good place to be. And if she gets to the merge, she's going to be able to fly under the radar competitively, even though it's deceptive, even though she's actually killing it. Like, are any one of us going to be shocked if she walks away with the necklace once or twice like Julie did on my season? Julie won 2 on our season, which is as much as anyone but me. And like, and you still get to the end and you're like, you don't think of Julie as a competitor, and it's these preconceived things.
Yeah.
But if Tiffany gets to the end, she's not going to be a goat. Like, she's going to sit there and be able to lay out this case, a case that, let's be honest, we're seeing every week. Like, every week there's a moment with Tiffany, whether it was getting across the balance beam, then crushing the challenge. Like, they give it. Don't forget about Tiffany, guys. So I totally see it.
Yeah,
and I think that
we have seen her have agency over her game that we never saw Julie have. And I said that in our last show too. I compared her to like Laurel and Julie, that they both got to the end, but they never had these moments that they've given Tiffany.
Yeah, I think also I think also Tiffany is going to be, there's a lot of people that she can possibly take out at merge and claim because she's so under the radar. With Devin, she can fly under the radar at merge. No one's going to be thinking of her as a threat. But if she can take out an Evie or a Shan or a Ricard or a Danny in a Blaze of Glory,
let's
put
the
that on her resume,
better
and
not
then
fucking
they
do
can talk
that.
about it at the end,
Well, and I think there's a gameplay style which fails so often, but when it works is fun to watch. And it's when somebody is so paranoid that they're constantly attacking, like not just talking about it and stressing, but they're actually going out and acting on their paranoid theories. And if it doesn't work, they bounce to the next one. And when you think about Tony, and I'm not comparing Tiffany to Tony, but I'm comparing how she deals with her paranoia to it. The fact where he would go and attack a strategy, and if it didn't work, then whatever he was thinking was going to happen next that might screw him, he would go and attack that. And if this little ally didn't flip, and then he'd go to this one and back and forth. Tiffany is so paranoid about, well, maybe Voce has this and maybe Xander has that. She's always attacking every angle. And I used the analogy before, how the broken clock is right twice a day. That's kind of what's happening. And she's not getting caught or in trouble every time she's failing because she's doing it in such a way now where she's not looking crazy. You know what I mean? She's not looking like she's just freaking out because we're seeing the payoffs. Maybe he's got something in his bag. Let's go look at it. Maybe I should ask him about the paperwork and see what he says.
Right. Lyanna was the one that she turned off, and now Lyanna's the one talking to her about how they don't necessarily trust Evie. So yeah, she seems to have regained any ground she might have lost plus some.
Yeah.
I have a question for Devens actually, because Dawn, one of our viewers, said, just like Shan's paranoia will be hers if she doesn't rein it in. How crazy is the paranoia in the game for having been on the island? Like we all watch on TV and like, oh, that person's paranoid, JD's paranoid, this one's paranoid, that. But like, how real is it?
I mean, it's very real. When you feel like it could be you, it's real. It's really real. Although the other side of the coin, like there are a lot of times where you really are confident that it's not you. People are like, how do people get blindsided? And it's like, because you go to tribal and you're really sure it's not you. And most of the time you're right. The one time you're wrong, you're probably blindsided. So I think Tiffany and Lyanna and Evie right now all feel probably pretty comfortable. I don't think any of them really thinks that someone's turning anything, but if one thing happened, you hear one wrong thing in your Tiffany and you think, if you walk in on a conversation with the three of them that you weren't a privy to, all of a sudden, all your alarm bells are going off, red flag, red flag, red flag. So it's always like that flip of a switch that can happen. I remember waking up by the fire alone one time, and literally this was the morning after David Wright was voted off. And like everyone's down on the beach except me. And I was just like, I'm so screwed. I could not be more screwed than this moment. And then like 2 minutes later, War Dog is like, you want to get rid of Wentworth? I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. That's a great idea.
Yes. Can I write that name down now?
Exactly. So it's just like everything changes all the time.
So back to this comment from Dawn. My question is, though, is Shan's paranoia real, or is Shan's paranoia part of her strategy of manipulation?
I think
Shan's paranoia?
I think Shan's paranoia was this is what I think happened. Shan and Ricard premeditated that this is gonna happen. All right, I'm gonna go. You tell Jeannie's gonna try to blindside you, so you can just tell Jeannie whatever, and we'll reconvene 10 minutes before the vote. Plan stays the same. So she actually expects Ricard to tell Jeannie that she's gonna vote out Shan. I think that's how you. Yeah. I mean,
I agree.
Right?
Yeah, I think if she was really that paranoid, she would have played the idol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, how often can you be playing somebody so well that you tell them, as they did to Jeannie, okay, I want to talk with you for a minute so we can make a plan. But then after that, I'm going to go and strategize against you. Is that cool?
Yeah, we're gonna
and it's like, it feels like unless while we're talking, I tell you, okay, now I'm going to go tell this person this, and here's what I'm going to say. But like that wasn't really part of it. Like, but it was just.
That's the way it happens, because otherwise it's just obvious. And then she goes and looks for an idol. Like I know when I got
and gives it away.
When I got voted out from Lesu, like we came back from the challenge, we'd lost. We sat there depressed for like an hour and didn't say anything. And then we're like, I guess we all go have one-on-ones with everyone, and that's how we did it. Like everyone talks with everyone, because otherwise you're just, you're begging. Like if they had not talked to me, I would have gone and found an idol, and I never would have been voted out. Like it's the fact that they kept me in the dark like that.
Is there heat on the first person to recommend that? Like if you're all sitting around there and you're all like, it's just awkward, right? I guess that's a word to say. It's just awkward. Some people just got blindsided. Others just felt the power. And now we want to talk, but like the first person to speak up and say, okay, do you guys just want to break apart? And we'll like, does any heat ever go on that person for being the one that's like kind of initiates the strategizing?
I don't know. I know when Underwood came back, we all had one-on-ones with him. And at that point I didn't care. Like, so I was like, I'll talk to him first. Because I wanted them to know that I was going to tell him everything. So I was very, confrontational about it in my way. When Jeannie was like, can I go first? I was sitting there going, well, Ricard obviously knows she's about to tattle. But again, I agree with you guys that was the plan.
All right. So let's finally get to this moment at the challenge on the mat where they are all going to reveal their little phrases. And I felt like this was the Shan and Xander part was edited so awkwardly. And I just want to know, like, was it like that much silence when they actually said it? Because they're like, oh, she's a vegetarian. And now she's like, oh my gosh, I just realized broccoli's just a bunch of small trees. And Xander, what did you say? And I was just like, oh gosh, this is so cringeworthy.
I thought it was clever. I thought they did a really good job with it.
I thought it was so cringeworthy.
Oh, they got theirs out and they set up Xander.
Nasir's was amazing. The part between Xander and Shan and Ricard seemed so awkward to me. I was like, oh.
I thought, honestly, it was one of like, I take a couple bullet points as I watch these things when I know I'm going to come on and do a podcast or whatnot. One of the things that I wrote down was literally Ricard with like 12 exclamation marks for the challenge with how much I loved the setup. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you and I just interpreted it differently, but he set it up. And not only that, it almost forces Shan to do it. It's like going up behind somebody at the high dive and not letting them go by themselves, walking out there with them and just boom. You're like, you're doing this. I need that idol in play. And not only that, I'm going to set up Xander. And I'm like, what was it? You said something about butter or no, he said like ladybugs. He's like, no. Yeah. And even by him saying ladybugs, it sets up Xander to correct him with the proper phrase. Like everything he did there, I thought was beautiful. And then it's kind of like, look over at Luvu. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. My question is, how much does Jeff speak at the challenge, Devens? Like, does he talk a lot with the people, or did he get? I know when, like, what do you?
It depends. Like, not usually. There's probably like 3 or 4 questions before, 3 or 4 questions after. Then, I mean, it's not like tribal where it's way longer. Like, they might cut out a few things. But that all seemed pretty legit to me. And I loved the way that Jeff, I mean, he didn't even leave time for Nasir. He was like moving on and made Nasir interrupt, which was even better. Like,
yes. And the editing of this is amazing because, we have no idea because I don't think Nasir told anybody. Thank you, Nasir. He just out of nowhere is like, and he even pauses, and it is so believable when he says it. Like, I was confused as a goat on AstroTurf. And you're like, okay, this is a man that learned his English from Survivor. Like, this is a phrase that he picked up some episode before.
That's what I was saying earlier. I don't think anybody could have delivered it so believably. Just because it fits his character. And the way he pauses before he says AstroTurf, because he wanted to say like grass or gravel or something. He was just like, AstroTurf.
Yeah.
Dude, when he said that and like my brain a second later, like it took a second later to connect the dot. My jaw hit the floor. I was filled with joy, like pure joy at the moment. Yeah. I thought it was so great the way they did. And if he had found that 9 days before, it'd be deceptive editing. But the fact that he found it a day before, I think I love the way they did it. I love the way they put it together. So it was a surprise for it because we deserved a payoff from this 3 idol thing. And that was a great payoff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree.
And like watching the episode again today, when Deshaun and Danny and Nasir have that conversation at the well and they're pitching like, hey, should we throw this challenge to get rid of Erica? They're even like, Erica probably is the one with the idol. And Nasir was like, no, he's not. He's got
Throws a
his own
JD
evil-
wink out
evil
there.
soundtrack. Yeah.
Money.
Yeah,
Which
All
with
right.
that new advantage, it's like really good job out of Nasir to keep that secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great moment. Love the editing of that.
And the fact that he said that
flashback.
his daughter hid immunity idols in his backyard.
That's
and he
so
would
sweet. I love
record.
that.
That
Yeah,
was like such.
That's one of my favorite confessionals of the season so far, because you could just feel the honest love for the show and for what it represents to him in that, like, he's living a dream right there. I was jealous beyond belief and so happy for the guy. I loved watching it, man.
Yeah, he's great. Okay, so Ua loses again, but before we get all of their drama happening at the beach, we do get the summit between Lyanna and Chan, and I love this moment because I love everything about Chan. So I'm obviously going to like this and seeing her get to make some of those cross-tribal connections. And we see an instant connection between Chan and Lyanna. So how do we think this is going to impact their game moving forward?
I think, as much love as we give Shannon, she deserves it all. Like Lyanna for this moment, Shannon even said it. She reacted in a way different than anyone else. And that's what created this trust that I think we're really going to see, if they both make it to merge, that we're really going to see play out well. And now Lyanna's in a position where it's like Tiffany trusts her the most. Evie trusts her the most. Shan trusts her in the top two of her because she only has Ricard other than her. So like really, really good summit for Lyanna, who somehow got herself invited there anyway. Like really great job out of her this episode.
I loved it. I think I'm a huge Shan fan. I adore her moves. I think she's a savage strategist. She's doing all the right things. The edit, everyone's kind of like the pastor, her past, that was amazing and all that. But what worries me about this is her edit is so heavy as the clear above and beyond.
Kind of like somebody else we know.
Not this early, man.
Heavy.
Not nearly this early. That's why I don't think she's
I don't think she's a winner.
I don't think she's going to win. I want her to. I am rooting for her. I mean, I've got all of my eggs in the Shan basket.
I like her a lot.
Well, don't count your chickens before they hatch.
I mean, I think the final nail in that is the fact that she's right now getting credit for every move that her and Ricard do together when it comes to confessionals.
And then we're
not seeing any of Ricard's, even though we know it's
Correct.
At least 50-50.
Correct. And I think Ricard, what she said to Lyanna, which kind of sat in my brain, whatever's in between those ears, was, if I'm not here by day 12, you can't trust Ricard. So that gave Lyanna a lot of information. And I think that's a foreshadowing of how Shan actually goes home. I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't know, can't predict the future, nor have I. But that was so heavy-handed of an edit, and I think Shan goes down in a blaze of glory at some point.
Or is it setting up her fracture of her relationship with Ricard of like, yeah, hey, this is someone that I've worked with, but
Probably both.
I'm willing to throw him under the bus to you, and like we're not that close.
I think it could have been just for strictly this episode, like to make us think like, oh, Shan really believes Ricard could turn on her. Like it makes Tribal Council a lot more exciting.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
As opposed to her being like, Jeannie's going to be gone. Ricard and I'll see you soon.
So yeah, that's what actually happened. What was shown happened was this crazy edit.
Yeah. Something Wendell Holland said to me when we were talking about this show that I kind of side with him is I think there was probably a conversation between Shan and Ricard after the very bad conversation about the advantages where they got back together and Shan said, I get where you're coming from. The JD thing, let's bury it. And Ricard said, me too. And they were both still probably nervous. But I think if that conversation doesn't happen, Shan probably plays the idol. I imagine that conversation is, or at the very least, if they shoved him to Tribal before they had a chance to have that conversation, which can happen, producers come in and say, no talking. And that's it. You're done till Tribal. But you can still, get a vibe from each other. Like especially if there's only 3 of you. Like, it's easy to do that behind Ginny's back, even though the producers immediately will be like,
Too late though. The message is sent.
Like,
the message is
cut it out.
sent.
You're like,
Don't
okay.
touch him. Don't grab his hand.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, like,
exactly. They're all over it.
That Lyanna phrase though, I feel like the whole sentence was, listen, Ricard and I are tight. Jeannie's definitely going home. Hold a beat. But if I'm not here tomorrow, Ricard is, and then all they do is show that if I'm not here tomorrow, Ricard's a snake.
Right. Yeah.
And then
A
there
lot
we
of
go. We have our
editing. A lot of editing comes. It's a very heavy-handed edit, I think.
Yeah. But we need it, or else it would be boring.
Yeah,
Right?
I think they did a great job. I think they did a great job in kind of. I was like, oh, I thought Shan was going home, and then I thought Ricard was going home, and I got completely blindsided that Jeannie went home because the edit was kind of like, and I know Wendell was tweeting, he's like, I didn't see this coming. Like, I didn't see this coming. But you know what he said was absolutely right, and I agree with both y'all, Devens and Wendell, is that there was a conversation to happen. Listen, we're good. Let's, you and I have been working together since day one. I get it. It's stressful. I got you. We're good. Let's keep the double vote. Let's keep the idol. It's you and I against the world. And then Jeannie's like, whatever. I get it. But like.
So we've only got Devens for about 5 more minutes. So real quickly, let's hit on this new advantage from Lyanna. This knowledge is power advantage, like the most powerful thing we've ever seen in the game. What are y'all's opinions on this?
It's a biggie. I look at everything through the lens of my own experience, and boy, would my season have been different. And they would have been like, Devens, do you have an idol? And I'd have been like, Jeff, I really have to tell him. And they'd say, yeah, and I'd give it, and they'd vote me out. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sure something would exciting would happen between whoever was left. But I don't like it. I think I saw what Stephen Fishback said about telling people they can't lie is against the spirit. I think there's an argument for that. I also just think even if they have to tell you they have an idol, but you don't take it, like, that's a huge advantage just to know where it is. So I do think it's a little powerful, but who knows? Maybe it'll play out in an amazing way.
A little OP.
You're at tribal. Jeff comes back with the votes. He says, okay, if anybody has an advantage or a hidden immunity idol, now would be your chance to play it or whatever, your time to play it. Somebody stands up, says, you know what, Jeff? Grabs her bag.
Do you have an idol?
And you hold out your sheet and say, Devens, you got an idol? Well, shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my fucking idol. Let me sit back down.
Like, I'm really glad I just made that speech about Ron and Julie.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the idol.
So there better be small print. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
There better be
I
small
hope
print.
someone steals a fake idol. Like whoever gives it to him doesn't know it's fake. Like, everyone thinks it's real.
Ow!
And they end up stealing and playing a fake idol. That would be my favorite thing.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked a lot about Ricard and Shan throughout this whole episode. We do get their little spat. So Devens, if you were in this position, basically where you had to give half of the idol to David Wright, how would you have handled this from Shan or Ricard's perspective?
Well, I'll handle it from Shan's perspective because I lived that.
Yeah.
Where, David and I were in lockstep the whole time until that moment when he wanted to vote out Eric and I wanted to vote out Wentworth. And we just did not agree at all. And I asked for the idol back because, I had done everything to get it. I'd given it to him and he said no. And I didn't push it like Shan did. And the difference between what we saw anyway and David and I is there was never a time where either of us thought we were going to go against each other. Like, we understood we might vote differently, but we were going to come back. Like, there was no doubt. And it was never like this underlying threat to him or threat to me. It was like, and I understood where he's coming from. Like, he wants to keep the idol. What are you going to do about it? So I think Shan pushed it way harder than she should have. If I'm Ricard, I never forget this. And I'm always wondering, like, what would she have done if I'd given it to her?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, that was a wild one for me. I think that was a first chink in Shan's armor.
It's too early in the game to plant that seed of distrust. That's all I can say on that. It's too early.
But it
And
could also
Ricard-
be the edit.
Yeah. And Ricard and David both did the right thing, which is, you know, I'm not going to give you this because I think you're a little crazy right now. Like, you know, David called me drunk. He's like, I'm not giving you this. And I still, he and I still disagree. Like, I still think I was right. He still thinks he was right. But like, why would he do something for me, even though he doesn't want to work against me? Like, what I want to do is working against what he wants to do. So I'll just hold on to this for now until we can be on the same page again, which we were, and we wasted it together.
The way it should have been done.
Yes.
All right. So one more question for you, Devens, and then I know you probably need to hop off. Who is playing the best game so far, and who is playing the most like you would play? And that comes from our friend Bob.
Oh, who was voted off fourth? They were playing the most like me. Brad. Was it Brad?
Brad.
Brad.
You know, he played a little like me late game, but by the time I was playing like Brad, everyone was already out to get me. So a little differently. It's hard to say who's playing the best game because we mentioned it earlier. Like, Blue hasn't really gotten to play. We don't know how good or bad their games are. I think you have to give it to Chan based on what we've seen. Like, there's no doubt she's the cog of that. I think Ricard's underrated. I don't think he's getting as much credit as he should. But Chan is the social hub that everyone's tied to. Like, I don't think JD and Jeannie and these folks and Brad felt like real close to Ricard.
Yeah.
The way they did Chan. So I think Shan's amazing. This is another thing we talked with Wendell about. Like, I could never remember an edit this big, this early. And Bryce said, what about Wendell? And I said, well, it was Wendell and Dom. Like, who is it with Chan? Like, we see a little of Tiffany, a little of Evie, a little of, you know, Danny, Nasir, but it's Chan. And maybe it's just because they're going to tribal all the time. Like, maybe we'll see a lot less of her once it's emerged, but she'll stay. I don't know. I would definitely not compliment myself by saying that Chan or Nasir or any of those great players are playing like me. They're playing better than I did early in the game. You know? So all credit to them.
I love it. Okay, so Devens, I think you need to hop off.
I do. Thank you guys so much. This
Thank
was
you
fun.
so much for joining
Devens,
us.
do you wanna promote what you're hosting and having next week for the fans?
Oh yeah, 100%. If you're anywhere near Atlanta, Georgia, we're doing a watch party on Wednesday at Ron Clark Academy. The Ron Clark Academy. So if you're a teacher and you don't even care about Survivor, go to the Ron Clark Academy. My castmate from season 38 putting it on. A lot of help from season 37, David vs. Goliath. Davey Rickenbacker going to be there. T-Bird going to be there. Sharia from China going to be there. Lots of people going to be there. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I love Survivor fans because I am one. And it's going to be a blast. I'm going to have some drinks, watch some Survivor, and talk during the commercials. If you try to talk to me during the show, it could get violent. I don't know. You know how it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Devin, so much. I'll post the link to the Facebook group of how you get tickets to the event.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Devins. It's always a pleasure.
You got it, Stan. All right, later, guys.
Thanks, Devens. All right, so let's talk about the Tribal Council. Anything of note that we haven't really hit on yet?
I honestly think the Tribal Council, if I was Chan, and I was just playing this such good strategic game, I think people underestimate how strong Shan's relationship is with, Frank. You would argue he's a very adequate replacement for Rick Devens. Good to see you, Frank.
Yeah, just slightly cuter.
A little cuter.
Maybe not as smart.
You got a better beard.
Oh, come on. No way, man.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think Chan and Ricard's relationship is so strong, and I think we hit on a couple of points throughout the show that Chan and Ricard I think the edit made it a lot more embellished than it actually is. I think it's a straight up Genie vote from the moment they voted out JD, honestly. There was nothing to change that. there's no point in going against your number one, especially if it's you against the world. You have to think Matt Singh here, like Denise Malcolm. Y'all, if you don't think Matt Singh here, then you're not a Survivor plan. What are you doing in this game, Genie? You know, like when you're in a tribe of two, going down to two, and you got your number one right next to you. I don't care if it's Frank, Kiley, Robbie, or Rick Devens. If we're working together, I'd be like, listen, we can't turn on each other. It's you and me against the world. I have an idol, you have an extra vote. I don't, you can do that whatever you want. Just don't use it on me, and let's rock it.
Yeah,
let's rock it. Like
they have to lie. They have to lie just so that she tries not to use that shot in the dark. But you know what's funny is in this scenario, and I mentioned it before, there's no reason why I don't see, unless my math is wrong here, why Genie shouldn't have used the shot in the dark anyway.
Yeah.
Because if Shan is telling the truth and Shan's gonna vote for Ricard, then it's a tie between Ricard and Genie, and then Shan's the only vote left anyway. And she's already outed herself to being against Ricard, right? So I think Genie just made a strategic mistake in not realizing that there was no downside in playing her shot in the dark, apart from not having it anymore. But listen, at this point, there are 3 of you there. 3 of you. That's it. Like, you just need to survive that day. That is it. I don't care about anything else. But, from the perspective of getting rid of Genie, it makes the most sense for both Shan and Ricard, for the fact that when they merge, if they merge, and everybody else is, let's say everyone's going to pick between the 2 people who everyone knows are working together, who would you vote out first? Ricard over Genie? Or Shan over Genie?
You would vote them over Genie all day.
That's what I'm saying, right? So they need to bring each other, because then at least it's a conversation, right? Like,
I think I think the edit just took us for a whirlwind for a very simple vote, for sure.
But I want that.
They did a good job.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, like, I thought that the editing of that episode was so great. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Ricard and Shan scheming together, like, putting the bracelet in place of the necklace. And
they could have used a rock. They could have used anything.
Yeah, like, I liked that. I liked this, kind of confrontation between these 2 allies, where it's like, ooh, like, is this really a rift between them? And you do have that, it's not like, okay, this is so obvious what's going to happen. Genie is definitely screwed. It gave you enough of a step back to be like, oh, maybe it's not 100%. So,
see, I'm not so much.
I was like, is Ricard gonna shank Shan here? Like, that was my big fear. Then that's what I told my husband. I was like, he better not. You better not. You better not. Like, if he cut Shan here and goes with Genie, like, that would be devastating.
Absolutely. And devastating for his game too.
I would personally like a little more transparency with the edit, and have it show us how you're fooling Genie into believing that there's a chance. Show me more of that, rather than try and play games on me as a viewer on the suspense of, is it really going to happen or not? Because
I don't think that they can edit it that way, because he didn't fool Genie. Genie was not ever going to vote with Ricard. She was always going to vote with Shan to vote out Ricard. Like, she's already written Ricard's name down. She didn't trust Ricard. She thought that she had that tight bond with Shan. So I don't think that they can edit that and show it to us, because I don't think that it happened.
I just don't know how you can have a tight bond. Think you have a tight bond with somebody when the other 2 people were voting together the entire game and you haven't been.
Yeah.
And you literally voted against each of them at one point or another already in this very young season. But you know what? It's the only time also that, if you want to look for clues, it's the only time Genie ever stood up for herself in front of people, other than saying, I'm not going to cook for you, was when Shan got back and she's like, do you mind if I talk first? Can I talk to Shan first? I'm like, where has this player been the whole time?
Yeah.
Where you actually like go up and force a conversation and make it happen. I mean, it was like a sledgehammer, like, it was a bit rough on the delivery, but it got the point across that, hey, I want to play right now. Can you let me play now? Like, can I play? So that's almost what it felt like. It was like Jeannie's been watching Survivor, and then she finally walked up to the Survivor players and said, can I play now? And they're like, all right, you go.
Disappointed. Very disappointed with Genie. She was. I was very strong on Jeannie, and you know, as much you can say all y'all can say all you want about me, but when I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong, and I'm absolutely 1,000% wrong about Jeannie. I'm very disappointed. I love the representation, an older LGBT woman, you know, Asian. I think her story was told, but girl, you didn't even start playing Survivor.
She might have been better in an old school season that's longer, but this is the first time I think at day 10 it's ever been down to 3
Yeah.
people on a tribe. So
I don't
you
know.
can't play. You
Well,
have to hit the ground
Frank,
running.
Frank, it don't matter what season you play. If you don't play Survivor, then you don't play Survivor.
Well, I mean, I
But what
think
I'm
she
saying
played
is the two
Survivor. She just
people-
didn't play at the level that Shannon Picard plays Survivor.
She wasn't playing Survivor. She was playing Provider, right? And
Ooh.
it was like,
Mic
was like-
drop.
yeah, it was.
Black
Hey,
Rupert.
I'm going to bring you food. I'm going to cook for you, and I'm going to be that workhorse
Like
to
Rupert.
right. The difference was Rupert also had conversations with people.
Ah,
Yeah. Oh god, I wish I could do that holler.
Feel better, Rupert.
Let's
Feel
build a
better,
shelter in the
Rupert.
middle
of the
Rupert's
ground.
going through a lot. So, Laura, Rupert's wife, tweeted. So feel better, Rupert, from For the Fans.
Yeah, he's going through some crazy stuff right now. You're right.
I think it was good news, though. Is the last that we've
but-
heard. So.
Cautiously optimistic is
Yeah.
my understanding.
Yeah. So I think I love how Shan is just, and I have to give credit where credit is due. No matter how much the moves were shown to be Shan's moves, a lot of it is also Ricard's move. You need to play with people. No, I mean Ricard's becoming edited as the villain. I don't know, just by default, I guess. But I think just as much as it's Shan's moves, it's also Ricard's moves. And Ricard is getting an underrated strategist edit because he's just getting all these like villain edit, whatever. But I think the strength of that alliance is rooted by those two.
I think
Yeah.
I think you're bang on, and the only thing that I'm scared of, because I'm a big Ricard fan. Like if I had to pick my 3, I've said this a bunch now. It's Lyanna, Shan, and Ricard. If I had to pick 3 people that I want to work, and that next on the list would be Nasir now after this episode. But
Love
when we saw Ricard early in the season, and you saw him listening to JD's explanation of what happened on the island, and he kind of shook his head like, "Frig off, kid," and then he goes and gives a confessional. I was like, I don't believe a freaking word that guy is saying. Like, I loved seeing those confessionals where Ricard was really analyzing the game, and he was narrating it really well. But what I saw today, which was different, or in this episode that we're referring to, that was different, was I think Ricard is starting to become complacent when it comes to the small details like body language and his tone. Because when he was conversing with Shan at the beginning of the season, you saw him be like, well, what do you think? And a lot of softness. And I hope Shan does this, and I hope she does this, and I hope whatever you want, whatever, very, very passive, right? But then in his conversation about the vote, giving the vote back, his arms were crossed. He was looking down at her, and he wasn't blinking, and he was giving her a death stare and being like, just like threatening. And I'm like, whether or not Shan realizes what's happening, she's feeling it. And that doesn't feel good to have someone talk to you that way. Like if Ricard would have sat down and started fiddling with something and said the same words and been like, small body posture, not talking down physically at her, not staring her in the eye, like, yeah, exactly, right? Then, but I feel like if he rolls into Merge and he keeps talking like that, he's
a goat.
He's gonna get crushed at that point.
He's gonna get crushed at the final tribal.
But if seeing all the new faces kind of resets him, where he's like, okay, I gotta start playing the game again. I gotta be quiet in front of people and talk to confessionals.
I feel like we kind of saw this in Big Brother, like where Big D talked with Ozza, like, hey, you've got RBF, like you need to rein that shit in. And Shan's gonna need to sit Ricard down and be like, look, you got some RBF, like you're sitting over there like looking judgmental as hell.
Terrible.
And you need to school the looks. Like, I mean, I am an expressive person. Like when somebody says something I disagree with, I'm like Tiffany over here, like behind your back, like you know what I mean? Like
Ricard knows he's right. Ricard knows he's right, but he doesn't need to act like he knows he's right. You know what I mean? Like he's looking at them like, Like, do you not realize who I am right now? Like, that's kind of the body language he's giving.
Yeah, and
It's
I've,
dangerous.
I've wanted to interject for the longest time, but I guess that would make me look bad. Like, speaking to your point, it takes one to know one, and I've like over the years I've been playing ORGs for a long time. I don't play anymore, but like one game I played, I was a strategic mastermind, but my body language was very off. I was very shruggish to the people. Almost they targeted me every single round, and I bulldozed through them through blind sides and made these moves. And I was very, the oh hey I'm darn and chilling became like right. Don't come for me. If you come for me, you're dead. And I got one vote at the final tribal. I lost third place. The only time I got third in my entire gaming career is when I voted correctly from the first tribal to the last tribal, evaded every single blindside attempt, but I came off-putting because of my body language, and it deterred so many people in the jury to vote for me to win, even though they knew I played the best game, and they voted for someone who didn't play a single thing but was loved by the jury. So that's kind of like, Natalie White winning Samoa. That's kind of the, they people like people that Michelle Fitzgerald and Karong winning her season over. She was a lot more social. She was liked. You can argue the same thing with Wendell. Wendell was a little bit more liked, had an amazing relationship with Laurel, but then the tiebreak happened. Like there was no question in Laurel's mind whose name she was putting down, and there was no question in Wendell's mind that he walked out of Ghost Island the winner. It's so important how body language is in Survivor, and part of having good body language, self-awareness. I think that's what Ricard is lacking in his game, and I think that's reflecting in his edit.
I disagree, and I think you're right. I think Kiley, when he does get around a new group of people, he probably will pull it back in. Right now, he knows he's the top of the food chain. He is going to have a different swagger. The mighty Michael DeLucas in Mayhem, when we were at the point in the game where we had multiple avenues to the end, you could see how he walked around in the house. He walked with a bit more swagger. He had this grin on his face. Like, so your body language is going to change, but I think it's because of the environment he's in. He knows he's in a power position. I think once he's in a environment where he has to rein that in, I think we will see that happen. And I think he's getting the lesser of the edit because of his placement. I think he's going to go out before the end, and I think that's why he's not getting the credit.
Yeah, it's body language is important. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like, actually, one time I played an org with the great Pete Morgan in the final 50. I had an idol, and obviously Pete knew it was a final 50 of a 60-person game. Pete was like, Stan, you don't even have to tell me. I know you have an idol. You walk around like you have an idol. You talk like you have an idol to other people. It's so obvious. And I'm like, because I told you I had an idol. He's like, nope, it's body language. It's how you come off. Like you're not scared to make moves because none of them have the idol. And he's absolutely right. In perception, sometimes is reality, whether you like it or not. See, Pete, if you're watching this, because I know you will at some point, you're right. Absolutely right. Everyone knew I had the idol. They couldn't do anything about it because he had power, but still.
Well, and I think this speaks to that whole, theme of the difference between somebody playing for their first time and playing after they've watched themselves play. You know what I mean? Like after they watch themselves play, because when somebody watches themselves back and they see how their body language shifts from episode 1 to episode 5 or day 1 to day 10 or 11, whatever we were at when he was doing it, then if they're to come back again, like you hear that in confessionals, last time I was here, I did this and this and this, and this time I'm going to try to not change, or I'm going to check myself. I'm going to give myself a routine where every morning I'm going to say body language, this and that. You know what I mean? I'm going to have a mantra, and it's going to be, and it's going to remind, like whatever. And those are the things that players pick up in their second and third time. And
exactly. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There's an advantage. It's an advantage to having played these games before, because you know how you're perceived. Like, sometimes playing orgs, there's an advantage for all the future Survivor players.
Sheldon asks, isn't Ricard the best shield for Shan? He seems unlikable and smart. I would want to be an ally with that because it is not going to be me first.
I think I think more importantly, not just a shield, but someone who I can potentially beat in the final 3 or final 2. That's going to be ultra loyal. Like, I think if I take someone like Ricard, and Shan picks up on the unlikability, but I know that she feels like Ricard's loyal to her. then yeah, drag her on to the end, because Ricard's not going to get a lot of votes from the jury. I think it's a perfect strategy for someone like Shan. What do y'all think?
I don't think he's that unlikable. I don't.
I mean,
don't
I
see
enjoy
that.
him, but I think
Yeah.
he definitely gives off this
Like,
possibly off-putting.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
he has a face that RBF. I think
Yeah.
he's just got a.
Because Frank, you kind of look like Ricard.
Yeah, I've
You
been known
do.
to have that face when I'm thinking I look angry
Yeah.
sometimes. But I mean, if you hang out with me for a few
Absolutely.
hours,
It's
you get past
11
that.
days.
So I think
that's,
Yeah.
that's how
people are
that's
seeing-
how that's why I got over you. Like, you look at me,
Exactly.
but then you hang out
I
with
don't
you for 2 hours in your life, and I'm like, oh, he's actually a pretty loyal and decent guy.
I do want to throw something out here, though. I do want to throw something out. We're dealing with somebody, and if we can give Ricard credit for being strategic and being able to see how, like, where the chess pieces are on the board and where he fits in the game, he knows that everybody he pisses off at this point isn't even on jury, right? It's like none of what he's doing right now matters. All that matters for him is surviving, and he's doing that really well. So like maybe when maybe he knows merge is coming, and he says to himself, you know what, I got to do whatever it takes to get to merge, and at that point, now I'm working for votes. And maybe, like, if he's as intelligent as we think he is, maybe he's already thought of that too. It all comes down to that the application of self-awareness, not just the idea of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean,
Absolutely.
they're both very, very fun to watch. They're fun to watch as a duo, and so I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen. So
I
with
have
that,
a question for the four of us, or do we have to? What is your prediction on how Shan and Ricard will do in this game?
I think that they will merge with yellow, wipe out the blue, and then I think that Ricard's going to be the casualty out of that duo, and I think the other will go to the end.
I think Shan is long for the game. They've invested way too much. I mean, like I said, even going to the lengths of creating her soundtrack, that they're even playing her soundtrack when she's doing things without her humming it. Like, they've put so much time and energy into Shan. I think she's here for the long haul. Is she the winner? I feel like it's too good of an edit. Like, I mean, we have seen her flaws. Maybe she does react a little emotionally sometimes and make emotional decisions as opposed to completely strategic. I don't think she's playing flawlessly, but she's entertaining. There's no doubt about it. And so I enjoy watching it, and I just don't feel like they're going to, have invested in this time and not get the payoff. Does she win? I don't know.
We have forgotten people that were pre-merge great. You know what I mean? Like, this is all pre-merge fun. Like, none of this is going to matter when they merge and they've got two people, unless they cause some crazy magic that's going to be historic forever. You know what I mean? Like, they're so outnumbered right now that they're going to have to try to find their way into the cracks in Luvu between Sydney and Erica and Danny and Nasir and all this stuff. I just don't see them being able to do it together for that long. And I think the fact that we're not seeing the co-edit, right? We're not seeing the Dr. Will and Mike Boogie kind of duo, the Will and Dom and Wendell edit. We're not seeing that, even though that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're working together to crush it on a tribe right now, and we're not seeing that edit. We're only seeing Shan's side. So either Ricard did something to piss production off at some point, and they're just not putting him on the show, or Shan goes out before Ricard does, and they're given, like, they're gonna have like a come from behind underdog story for Ricard. You know what I mean?
I think that's a possibility.
I agree with Robbie. We're missing a lot of people. There's a lot of people from blue. There's a lot of people from yellow that can potentially take them down, take the win. I think that Shan and Ricard are going to be each other's demise the way they're overplaying. And I think if Lyanna, potentially doesn't, I don't think Lyanna.
They're the only ones that know. They're the only ones that know how much they've overplayed, though.
Correct. You're right. You're absolutely right. But I think Lyanna's not going to take Xander's idol.
Yes, she is.
No.
She's taking Xander's. Lyanna is taking Xander's idol the first damn chance she got.
Right, but what if it's a merge?
It doesn't matter. She knows that he has it. She is going to take his idol. Like
Right.
she has this moment on the beach where we get a confessional from her that ends up being the title of the episode of, hey, I think voting out Voce might have been my $1 million mistake. And I should have stuck to my guns. We should have gone for Xander. Like, it's been setting up for episodes now. Lyanna is going to take Xander's idol.
You're right.
So they planted the seed that Lyanna knows
And I'll
all the
bet
phrases
he is
because
getting
Lyanna
$50.
read the letter, right? She read the letter. She knows the phrases,
Knows
which
the
means she
phrases.
knows by definition that Nasir has an idol right now.
Yeah.
Nasir's on the blue tribe. She has
You
no
know, Shan and
connection,
Nashir have the idol.
right? She knows her ally has an idol. She knows that somebody she knows and Xander has an
Two
idol.
idols.
She can steal an idol from Nasir, and all of a sudden, the couple green and the yellow have two idols, extra votes, all of this power.
I'll bet you
And-
$50, Kylie.
Huh?
I'll bet you $50.
Okay.
I'll take $50 from Frank back.
Wait, for what? For what? For what?
I will bet $50 that Lyanna steals Xander's.
And if
Idol.
you steal someone else's idol, you pay me $50.
Yes.
I'll take Frank's money
Wow.
back, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good bet. That's a good bet, Stan.
Wow, you have 10 other
Ven-
people that she could try to
vengeance.
target for something.
She's stealing
Huh?
Xander's, and I think she's going to steal Xander's next episode. Okay.
I think she
All right. So I think I'm going to be making $50 quickly. So thank you. All right. So we get this teaser of, oh, is it a merge? You know, so what do we think is going to happen? Are we going to merge? Are we going to have this situation like, Denise and Malcolm, where they're going to be split up and one's going to go to one tribe, one's going to go to the other? Are they both going to go join Yellow?
So
What's
I think that it's not gonna be a merge because hate to be the freaking bearer of spoilers, but in Amazon,
Don't spoil anything.
I'm
If
not
you're feeling
spoiling
an
anything. This is pure speculation.
That's it. I'm logging off. No spoilers. I'm just
Speculation.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Pure speculation that the merge buff isn't going to be dropped.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's the merge.
So it's not till later on. So, and then
Is this
if
a
you
one
Mr.
world
Amazon, you can
scenario?
look
Is
up
this-
that link that says it will be dropped at this date. You know, you can pre-order for this date
Is
on Amazon.
this a
think-
fake merge situation? Like, there's so many things that they can do here.
Yeah, Tyson tweeted out, I think it was last night. He said, "Do you think that the two remaining UA members are going to become captains and have to draw teams?" I really like that idea, but I also see them just doing something really messed up, where it's like, just for this tribal, we're gonna draw teams. Just like it's like or just for this challenge, or just for, I don't know, like some weird thing that we haven't seen. I've been 3 tribes of 4. Yeah,
I mean, 3 tribes of 4. If Lubu doesn't stay strong to their numbers, they're dum-dums.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
think it'd be something that intermingles everyone. I think.
Or 2 tribes of 6.
Yeah, 2 tribes of 6
I
is a
think
possibility.
UA gets dissolved.
Yeah.
We're down to Yasa and Luvu, and then they pick new tribes like Schoolyard or something. I don't know.
yeah.
Now that the idol twist is gone, because everyone has the idol already. Now it's fair game. Everyone has their advantages. Everyone has their stuff. There's just a lot of advantages, guys.
Maybe they're like, hey,
Yeah.
Shan and Ricard, right here on the beach. Fire making challenge. One of you stays and makes the merge. One of you goes.
I would love for them now to, because we're all going to have all these shot in the dark die or dice, I guess. Each person's going to have a die rolling into merge. I would love to have them add another dynamic to that. Like, I'd like, okay, yeah, we get you have a 1 in 6 chance, or maybe you can have an advantage in a challenge, or like, what it's like, it's almost like what they wanted to do, I think, with the fire tokens, but just they're going to roll it out more slowly so that it's not just useless the whole season and then buy peanut butter. Like, it just, I don't know. I feel like because they're not getting the payout right now. Like, if I was on production and I was this far into the season and nobody's done anything with the dice, I'd be like, all right, what else can we throw at them that might actually pay this off? Because if we go the whole season and people wait until the final 7 to actually use it, then like, how many episodes do you want to go before you actually get a payoff of that setup? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see payoff at the merge with the dice. I think the minority or the second vote after the merge when there's a
That's
definite
more likely,
minority.
yeah. When you find out who's lying.
Yeah.
Like once you realize you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, now you're voting. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
Yeah. It's going to be
hard.
interesting. I'm excited for next week's episode. Is there anything else y'all want to add about this episode before we get into our awards?
Well, you better prepare that check, Kylie, because I'm gonna start collecting soon.
Well, it's
You're
just
gonna buy
Frank's
his
money
merch
if I
bus
have to
with that
if I have
money.
to pay you. So,
I'm being facetious.
all right, Frank, lead the way.
Top of the food chain. Who do we have for the top of the food chain award?
And then
This here. No. Shan.
I tried to do the
Shan.
best Frank impersonation by like rubbing his beard and waiting for everyone to say Shan because it's obviously
It's Shan. Shan's the top of the food chain for me. I'm a Shan stan.
I'm gonna say Lyanna.
It's a good pick.
Uh-huh.
I think Lyanna has a lot of connections right now, a lot of information.
That's true. It's true. Why? See, I just like assume things, and I don't think about like these things that Robbie thinks about.
She's also a crazy comp beast, and I think if there's going to be if there's going to be a male female reward or necklace at merge, which I think is kind of interesting to see how like the theme that they're doing with the season of representation and equality. If they're going to do male female, I don't know how that's going to work out sometimes in future seasons. But
a lot of she's done a lot of exercising before Survivor. She's fit.
Anyways, I'll cut it short. Yeah, Lyanna's my answer.
I think I'm gonna have to say, I was gonna say Shan, but I'm gonna have to agree with Robbie on this one. Actually, I'm gonna pick Lyanna because of exactly the points he brought up. Like she's an unassuming winner. I'm a winner pick at this point. She has a lot of control, not a lot of airtime, not a lot of visibility, but that's what I'm going for.
Then I guess I'll go with Ricard because I think it's Shan and Ricard are the top of the food chain, 100% on their tribe because they made it to the final two together, and I think come merge they're going to be a dynamic duo.
Mm-hmm.
Our second award would be the Dark Horse Award. That's the one where I would put Lyanna. That's
yeah. I think that's kind of a good pick for Lyanna. We've gotten a little bit from her. If our winner is not Shan, because she at this point she is the only one that has driven the narrative of the season. So if Shan's not the winner, then they're doing a good job of subtly editing the winner
or hiding the winner. And I think
so.
I'm going to stick to Tiffany. I'm going to stick to Tiffany.
Yeah, I think it's between Lyanna and Tiffany if they're putting their winner on the back burner.
It's too obvious. It's too obvious, guys. It's too obvious. Shan's too obvious of a winner pick. They'd hide her.
She's the best winner of all time, and they
absolutely.
have nothing else to do.
It could just be Kim Spradlin, and you predict it from one world, like just the way how she runs shit. Could just be like that, Let's get a strong female, woman of color, like winner, and just like enjoy the ride, guys. I mean, that could very well happen.
Yeah, I mean, if a strong woman of color won, why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they hide it? Yeah, absolutely. Frank always says, cream always rises to the top.
And especially since they obviously underserved the only other Black female winner in Vesepia. And, she's forgotten so much. And I feel like, if they're going to get this winner, in their first season of this, what is it, the diversity initiative that they passed, then they're going to celebrate Shan.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just an all around great person to celebrate. I mean, she's got the story, she's the total package to me. Okay.
I think you're going to see the baton handed from Shan to Lyanna at merge. I think the edit's going to transition smoothly from one to the other.
That can potentially happen.
Yeah, but if I had to pick a dark horse right now, I'd probably say Deshaun.
Okay.
Yep. I don't think he shows like he's got a lot of power right now, but people keep coming to him with information.
So. Yeah, I think he's in control of that Luvu tribe for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Not Danny, not Nasir, Deshaun.
Everybody with a secret comes to Deshaun.
And it ain't Erica.
Our last award and my favorite would be Entertainment Gold. Who is our entertainment gold this season, this episode?
Just for this episode specifically?
Well, this so far this season.
Okay.
This
Okay, I mean, if we're
episode's gonna
doing
weigh
a
heavy
season
into it.
total,
I thought it was an episode.
it's an episode.
It's episode.
We're trumping your awards here, okay? An episode entertainment gold.
I'm gonna say Nasir. I think him finding that that idol the way he did, the story about his daughter, the way he's been absolutely crushing challenges one after another, doing every component, and just he's funny. And the way he delivers the I feel like a goat on AstroTurf line, interrupting Jeff and everything, and talking people out of doing a throwing a challenge. Like he had a whole season in one episode right here.
Yep. I wanted to close it with Nasir, but I wanted someone else to bring him up because I've been talking about Nasir the whole time. But 100%, like when you said entertainment gold, Nasir, he is an inspiration. He's someone I look up to. I'm so happy for him that he got to live his dream. You know, I'm always gonna be a Nasir stan until Snorch gets tuffed, Storch gets snuffed.
Still watched it.
I don't know. My alliteration. Wait, not alliteration.
It's not even alliteration, man.
It's not
Did you
alliteration.
learn
I'm
any
just.
English from Jeff as well?
I did. English is my second language, guys. I'm sorry. I thought I looked like a goat on AstroTurf.
There you go.
So my entertainment gold I'm going to give to Tiffany for the faces right behind Xander's back. Like, I just love that. You know, we've talked about Jeff breaking the fourth wall, and she kind of does a little bit here where, you know, she's like, bullshit. Like,
I
don't
fucking
lie,
hated it.
break my face, little boy.
Fucking
And-
hated it.
I loved it. Frank?
Yeah, I'm going with Nasir. Nasir
Yes.
just delivering on every level. I loved it. Like you said, the story about his daughter hiding the idols, that is just cool shit. He lives and breathes Survivor. This is his dream. And I was shocked. When he said that line, I was thinking they were going to go and it was going to be a flop. And when he said that, I was just like through the roof excited.
I was screaming, "Oh! Oh my god!" Like when that happened, it was like I just won the fantasy pool.
Well,
Like
I mean,
I was screaming when he did that. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy.
it's great for Survivor 41 seasons in to give us something editing wise that we've never gotten before. I mean, you know, we've seen a little bit of like flashbacks, but I think this was by far the most well done. And, you know, props to them.
Amazing.
All right. Anything else to add about this episode as we start to wrap up here? All right.
Let's show more Heather. Show more Erica. Come on, Survivor.
Yeah. Who do you have in your pool, Stan?
I'm done. I just got eliminated. I had
figured it was-
Voce, Jeannie, and
No.
Brad.
Okay. Wow. That's
I had
terrible.
$10. I got 3 players out of it. People only got 1 because it was like a $10
Well,
off.
that's because
Oh,
you
so
got
you're
really
not in the
crappy ones.
draft with
Correct.
all of us?
Huh?
You're not in the draft with all of us?
No, he's
Oh,
not in
no.
our draft.
Not in your draft. I'm not in your draft. But in our draft, the live one that I did here, I'm out.
Yeah, that's because you got 3 terrible players. No, I'm kidding.
Me and my
All right.
wife got Shannon Ricard.
Yeah, that's a good decision. All right. So coming up on For the Fans Entertainment, at some point this week, possibly you will see Frank and DeLucas recapping the latest episode of The Challenge. You know, we don't like to plan too far ahead, guys. We just like to keep you on your toes. And so they might do one without me, or they might just wait till I come back next week and we cover both episodes. And next Wednesday, we will be live, hopefully with another special guest. You know, make sure you tweet at Devens and tell him how much you enjoyed seeing him on tonight. I thought he was a great guest. And make sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. You get notifications every time we go live. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, y'all.